Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now for today's video, we're going to be covering a brand new penny stock on the channel. The company name is Latin Metals. They're an exploration focused company with gold and copper assets in South America. So obviously in light of recent developments, metals and precious metals have definitely become more lucrative, and that's why I thought it was so timely to put this company on your guys' radar. Now before we get into it, please take a second, hit the like button, you guys. It's a huge help to myself and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to do so. And let me know in the comment section below if you've heard of Latin Metals, if you're currently holding shares, and what you think about the exploration/mining space moving into 2022. Now, I personally respond to each and every comment. I'm doing merch giveaways as well, so you might be able to score yourself a hat or a t-shirt, and I'd love to hear from you. Now, with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay guys, so that's right. Today's video, we're going to be covering a junior exploration stage company specifically focused on gold and copper properties or assets in South America. Company name again is Latin Metals Incorporated, trades under the ticker symbol LMS here in Canada on the TSX Venture, and also on the OTC in the United States under the ticker symbol LMSQF. So as you can see here, they closed out at 14 cents Canadian, giving a market cap in the range of about $8 to $9 million. So definitely a small cap or penny stock company in every sense of the word. And if we pull up a 1-year chart here, you can see the company has essentially traded flat over the last 12 months. So as of March 29th, 2021, again, right in that 14 cents Canadian range. And with that being said, I think this may present an attractive investment opportunity if you're looking for exposure to the copper gold market overall, because Latin Metals has had a ton of big developments over the past 12 months, and we're really starting to see both copper and gold underlying commodity prices improve as a result of some of the geopolitical tension or risk in the world right now, and the expanding demand for copper in the electric vehicle and renewable energy space, as we've talked about before on this channel. So for those reasons, you guys, I'm definitely excited to get into this one today and talk about this company's business model in a little bit more detail. But before we do, I actually wanted to take a look at a recent news article that came out about a week ago in relation to one of the partnerships between Latin Metals and Barrick Gold. Now, before we jump over to the company website, I wanted to take a quick look at this press release, which actually came out March 7th, because it really does set the stage or paint the picture for the business model that Latin Metals has really put together. So this is actually an update on the Barrick earn-in agreement. So Barrick Gold is obviously one of the biggest producers in the world, and this is in regards to their exploration projects in the Santa Cruz province of Argentina. So later in the presentation, we're going to talk about the model that Latin Metals has put together here, what they refer to as a prospect generator model, but this is a great example of that in action. And this again came out just a couple of days ago, and it basically gives Barrick Gold Corporation the opportunity or the option to earn up to an 85% interest in these multiple different exploration or mining sites. And in return, Latin Metals is actually going to receive investment or money from Barrick Gold to really help them accelerate the development and the exploration at these properties. So this is phenomenal as a potential investor in Latin Metals because it really de-risks the company and allows them to use other people's money to actually invest or develop these properties. And that's exactly what we're going to see when we jump over to the company website here. So Latin Metals Incorporated is a mineral exploration company with a diversified portfolio of gold and copper exploration assets in South America. We're actually going to take a look at the map for both Peru and Argentina towards the end of the video. The company operates with an investor-focused prospect generator model. So there's that key term again, prospect generator model, which brings certain potential advantages to its shareholders. And 4 of the key benefits or advantages are as follows. So exposure to multiple exploration projects, increasing the chance of a discovery, So you're really diversifying your investment by having your hands in multiple different pots or multiple different locations. The partner advantage, so majority of exploration expense borne by JV or joint venture partners, which we just saw with Barrick Gold. That actually reduces dilution associated with repeated financing. So again, they don't have to actually go out and generate their own capital to develop these properties. They can use other companies' money, which is phenomenal. Third is commodities, so exposure to multiple different commodities, reducing the impact of commodity price cycles. So very similar to the diversification in terms of exposure, but now exposure in terms of different commodities. Again, the goal here or the main focus is really gold and copper at this point in time, both of which are in very strong bull markets right now. And then fourth point is discovery. So retained minority interest across a larger project portfolio. Shareholders are exposed to discovery upside. So as we just saw with Barrick, they have the opportunity to acquire up to 85% of those locations, meaning the remaining 15% remains with Latin Metals. And if and when a big discovery is made at those locations or they actually start to go into production, the shareholders of Latin Metals are obviously going to reap those rewards. Now, in terms of the project overview, again, we're going to go through this in more detail towards the end of the presentation. Latin Metals is a resource exploration company focused on precious metals and copper projects in historically resource-rich regions of South America, specifically, again, Peru and Argentina. The company operates on a prospect generator model, focusing on the acquisition of prospective exploration properties at a minimum cost, followed by initial evaluation through cost-effective exploration to establish drill targets. Latin Metals ultimately secures joint venture or JV partnerships to fund drilling and advanced exploration, and in doing so exposes shareholders to the upside of mineral discoveries while conserving capital and minimizing dilution. So again, that's that perfect balance that we talked about just a couple of seconds ago. Now, before we get into the investor presentation, I wanted to pull up this article from mining.com, really talking about some of the bull market conditions we're seeing for copper specifically. Obviously, gold is seen as a big inflation hedge. Gold is doing really well right now as well, but copper specifically, we've talked about on the channel. There's a ton of practical applications or use cases for copper, specifically electric vehicles and renewable energy sources. So I'm super excited about any companies that have exposure to copper. And as you can see, Goldman sees copper prices breaking out as a result of the risk associated with what they're calling an extreme scarcity episode. And again, the demand for copper is continually increasing. The amount of copper coming online or projects coming online is actually decreasing. And as a result, we actually saw copper prices rise 26% in 2021. And in addition to that, they're actually expecting a deficit of about 197,000 tons or about 200,000 tons of copper in this year alone. So obviously for companies associated with copper mining or have copper-rich assets, this is a major bullish tailwind for those companies and the sector overall. So now we're going to jump into the Latin Metals Incorporated investor presentation. Again, you can see the ticker symbol there on the venture LMS or on the OTC LMSQF. This is from February 2022, so fairly recent here. And the first thing I really wanted to take a look at is this prospect generator model in a little bit more detail. So as you can see, this is really a holistic cycle that really feeds itself. So project generation is top center there. This really relies on technical expertise and experience in the project selection phase or step. We're going to look at the leadership team in a couple of minutes here, and really a key factor at any penny stock, but specifically mining exploration-based companies. Next is going to actually be acquiring these exploration phase properties, and that's where you're actually going to generate that exposure to multiple different commodities or geographic locations. After that is focusing on surface level exploration. So this is actually the lowest cost exploration to add value and attract partner interest in these assets or properties. From there, Latin Metals goes out and looks for financing or secure partner funding, which really accomplishes two goals. So that's going to minimize dilution to existing Latin Metal shareholders, and it's going to secure cash payments and work in terms of commitments from these partners. Next, the partners are going to actually fund the exploration. So the majority of high cost exploration and exploration risk is actually shouldered or borne by the partners, like Barrick, for example. And then finally, Latin Metals is going to retain a percentage interest in that property. And that's going to actually feed full circle into future project generation. So minority joint venture interest in future discovery or retained royalty on production of these assets, partners have actually come in and completed those high-cost exploration steps. So as you can see, very lucrative and logical business model here with greatly reduced risk, as opposed to actually trying to develop and bring one or two of these projects to production on your own. And this slide here really talks about some of their project progression. So you can see a number of their assets here in various different stages or various different levels of progression. So they have a couple where they've just actually acquired the projects. We're going to look at these on a map again in a second here. They've got a number of projects within what they call initial exploration, and then they've actually secured a partner or built a relationship for a handful of these locations or projects as well. So again, you've got diversification in terms of where these projects are on the progression timeline. And then you can see on the y-axis here, obviously as these projects get further along or progress along this timeline, the projected value or project value of each one of these assets continues to climb. Now this slide here I wanted to throw in for two reasons. Number one, it shows the amount of activity and progress that Latin Metals has made over the last couple of quarters, and it also shows the variety and caliber of their partners. So you have Libero Copper and Gold, top left here, coming in Q1 of 2021 as a new option partner. This is for their Esperanza Copper and Gold project, which we're going to look at specifically in a couple of seconds here. Again, they used an option agreement here over a 2-year term, which is going to provide Latin Metals with up to $500,000 US in cash and up to $2 million in exploration expenditures, with Latin Metals actually retaining a 30% interest in this property. In Q2 of 2021, this was a project disposition by Patagonia Gold, so they actually closed a project sale to Patagonia Gold with the receipt of $250,000 in cash US again, which brings the total value up to $600,000 US to date, along with a planned or future payment of $500,000 US. And again, Latin Metals Incorporated holds a 1.25% royalty in this property. Now in Q3 of 2021, they brought on a new option partner to develop multiple different sites. This is with Anglo Gold Ashanti. So again, they optioned this out over a 5-year term, up to $2.5 million in cash payments and up to $10 million in exploration expenditures. So approximately 5 times the value we saw with Libero Copper and Gold. And again, they retain a 20 to 25% interest in the property, along with 2% NSR, that stands for net service revenue. And then just in Q1 of 2022, this is the agreement with Barrick, again, a new option partner here for multiple different projects. They optioned this out to Barrick with $1.2 million US in cash payments and up to $5 million US in exploration expenditures. So you can see very similar format at multiple different properties with multiple different blue chip partners within the gold and mining sector. And with that being said, I wanted to throw this slide in, which does a really good job at showing their overall project portfolio. So you can see the project name or the location on the left here, the commodity in which they're focused on. So you can see primarily gold, copper, and some lithium in this list. Again, countries, Argentina and Peru, and various different statuses of each one of these locations. So some of the option agreements we just talked about, partner-ready assets, and then a number of assets which they consider to be an active exploration phase, with the majority of these actually located in Peru here. And that's a perfect segue to this slide here, which really starts to dig into some of these properties in a little bit more detail. So first up is actually the projects in Argentina. You can see very well diversified geographically, and all of these locations are in deposit-rich zones. We've talked about this multiple times in our mining videos or mining coverage, but it's really important to be in the right neighborhood and really acquire properties or assets that have proven history of success and rich deposits in those locations. And that's exactly what Latin Metals has done here in Argentina. And again, you can see a legend on the left showing the various different stages of each one of these projects. Now, we're not going to go into each one of these projects in a lot of detail in this presentation, but I would definitely encourage you to take a look if you are looking to make an investment in this company. I'll leave a link to the Latin Metals website in the video description below, so feel free to come in, take a look at the drill results and the various different locations for yourself. But I did want to highlight one here. This is the Esperanza Copper Gold project in Argentina. Again, this is the one in partnership with Libero Copper and Gold. And I wanted to include a couple of pictures so you can get a look and feel for what these assets or properties actually look at this stage in the exploration game. And as you continue to scroll down here, you can see some of the various different drill results results, some of the existing mines within the same region, and some of the surface level geochemistry, which is obviously crucially important in those early stages of exploration. Now on the flip side of things here, their Peru project, so you can see Peru is, I'm going to say, a little bit less developed than Argentina. Most of the properties in this country are actually in the exploration phase, with the exception of one in which they're actually seeking a partner. But again, compared to Argentina, where they've already got a lot of those option contracts in place, Peru really is an up-and-coming opportunity for Latin Metals. And again, I wanted to double-click on some of the details here. You can see this coastal copper belt in Peru. So this is an extremely high-grade or rich copper deposit within the world. And all of these little blue dots here are actually Latin Metals properties within this coastal copper belt. So you can see this region has been the source of multiple discoveries within the last 15 years. They host a variety of different copper-rich deposits, and there's actually a number of mines that are already up and operational that have a great track record or record of success within this region. So with that being said, now we're going to shift gears, take a look at the leadership team here. As I alluded to earlier, leadership teams and the management team at small companies, specifically penny stocks, microcaps, especially in the mining and exploration space, are crucially important to the company's success. And what I've found during my due diligence into these mining exploration type of companies is you really need key players that have long track records and existing relationships within the mining industry. And that's exactly what you get here with Latin Metals. So Keith Henderson is the CEO. He's based in Vancouver, Canada, 25 years experience in the global resource sector, so extremely well connected here. He had a lead role in advancing Papa de Pongo through what's called a PEA, or a preliminary economic assessment, and ultimately a $100 million cash sale. So he's got experience bringing assets and companies to the market and actually finding buyers or investment. Next to him is Dr. Mario Castelli, who's the president of this company, lawyer with over 30 years experience with a specialization in exploration and mining. So he's got the legal side of things locked down. Provincial and federal senior agency positions have been held in the past. And on the finance side of things, you've got Danny Palanova, who's the CFO, 15 years experience in finance and accounting, and was formerly the CFO, controller, and corporate secretary for various different public companies. So again, experience in the public realm here or public company operation. Not to mention a number of other key players, again, which I would recommend you take a look at if you're looking to invest in this company. So from what I can see here, great leadership team, a lot of experience, and really a complementary group when you look at the team as a whole. Now to close things out, I wanted to take a quick look at the corporate structure here and really point out one thing that I love to see with these type of companies. So on a fully diluted basis, about 68 million shares. So again, in terms of market cap, this is as of January 2021 when shares were trading hands for about 11 cents. You're looking at about $6.5 million. Based on the most recent close in the 14-cent Canadian range, you're looking at about $9.5 million. So super small cap company here. Again, with great upside if the leadership team continues to execute and we continue to see strength in the copper and gold markets overall. And the other thing I really like to see that can lead to a lot of acceleration or torque with the share price is actually the amount of shares that are held by insiders here. So you can see board and management actually represent about 50% of the shares, so 47% of the shares are held by insiders. There's a core group of investors that represent another 15% of the float. So realistically, the public only has access to about 38% of these shares, which is great to see for the potential price moves in this company and to see that management has a ton of their own money invested in this company or personal skin in the game. So with that being said, I wanted to end out today's video with really a summary of the investment highlights that we've talked about. So number one is the quality partners. We looked at this at length. Some of the best and most well-known mining companies in the world, so Libero, Anglo Gold, Barrick Gold, are a few of the partners that have already signed on with Latin Metals, really giving them that notoriety and visibility on the global scale. They've got an excellent share structure, again, with nearly 50% of shares held by management and the board. The strong technical team, which we looked at, track record of experience and delivering for shareholders, less dilution. So because of these option agreements, they don't have to invest a lot of their own money, raise capital, and dilute shareholders. So the current agreements they have in place represent up to $30 million of non-dilutive investment in Latin Metals and its projects. And then the last point here is really around that retained interest, which I personally love to see. So although they have these agreements and partnerships with some of these bigger companies, Latin Metals ensures they actually retain a piece or a portion of these projects for themselves, and that's going to lead to ongoing and recurring revenue down the road. So for those reasons, you guys, I definitely like this company. I think it's worth a look if you're looking for exposure into the mining exploration space, specifically copper and gold, which I'm personally bullish on both of these elements in the near future here. Again, copper is seeing increased demand for its uses in electric vehicles and renewable energy. And gold, I think a lot of people are really turning to as a hedge against inflation, especially in times of geopolitical risk or instability, which we're seeing right now in Europe. Latin Metals has great diversification in terms of the actual elements they're looking at, the partnerships, and the geographic location of their assets, not to mention the great leadership team that this company has assembled. So again, I'll leave a link to the company website in the video description below. I'd be super curious to hear your thoughts on Latin Metals, the copper and gold mining sector overall, and your thoughts on this space moving forward. If you're still watching the video at this point, hopefully you found some value, so make sure you hit the like button before you leave. And if you're not currently subscribed to the channel, McNallie Money, feel free to do so. That's all for now. Thanks so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.